Hey, good evening, guys. Welcome to the weekly watch list. This is Jeff Kohler, aka Option Addict, from over at www.tradingaddicts.com. You know, at the end of the week, Friday, old options expiration day, what a blowout there we saw in stocks, huh? A lot of things came together, though. Into late last week, there were still kind of a good amount of mixed signals that were still out there, but a lot of things came together. And a couple things I think we need to be watching heading into this week. So, naturally with the big blowout, implosion here among equity prices, it makes sense that you go back to looking for any upside movements, any rips, any lifts in equities to look to initiate short positions. The manner in which things went down on Friday kind of put my indicators onto sell signals, and and that's a great analysis in hindsight, right? But there has to be certain things to take place in order for you to be able to differentiate what is an actual directional move lower versus what is a little bit of a pullback in the context of a newly formed trend. And going back to that rally we saw over the last several trading days, hard to think that wasn't something that was different out of the rallies we've seen in the past, right? But things have gone on to sell signals, so I'm a little reluctant to buy here. What's happened over this the last couple of days here, while the S&P's been pegged right around that 50-day moving average, is the McClellan has reset itself back down to about break-even territory. It's a read at about a positive 7 right now, so it tells me that risk is equal to the upside or to the downside. But some of the things that materialized last week that I think you want to watch are, number one, China. China had been doing pretty good. In fact, if you look at the divergence going on between China and the S&Ps, that relationship was looking pretty good. And then, of course, on Thursday we had the FXI gap down, trade down even a little bit more. And then Friday, of course, fell apart. The FXI traded down almost another 3%. So that FXI is breaking down pretty quickly here, and that's dragging a lot of stuff down along with it. So this here is a relationship I think we still need to monitor. And along those lines, copper prices, which I tend to put those in one by one. Copper price is also looking really, really heavy. Thursday. Then Friday, prices, copper prices gapped down and they traded pretty low. But you'll notice that, as many times as the S&Ps went to new lows, copper prices didn't. So that's, as always, that's one relationship I'm going to be looking at very, very carefully to kick off the week here. Is what's copper doing? And I'll let you know. We've built some indicators that we use here over on Trading Addicts, because the market's dominated by high-frequency traders and by algorithmic traders. We've built an indicator that picks up on that, so we actually see those orders going off in the moments that they happen. And those orders go off in nanoseconds, right? Well, we're able to see those and we're able to maneuver around them. What was interesting about copper is a monster order, and relative to copper, I mean, this isn't, the HG isn't a very actively traded contract. It's pretty thin, but a monster, about 180,000 went off in HG right at about 294, I believe. And so copper prices are here. You can see I'm looking at the chart here of the futures contract, HG, and it's trading down near the lower end of this consolidation range. Didn't break down on Friday. In fact, it held those lows all damn day into the close, didn't give. I'm curious to see how they open up tomorrow. I'm thinking it could be a pretty choppy week. I mean, I'm still I don't imagine I'll be too active here because I'm on sell the rip alert mode, right? And so anytime I see strength, I'm gonna be thinking, okay, well, those stocks are getting ready to break down. I'm gonna look to get take down some puts into some lifts. But copper could change all that, with the way that it held up on Friday. It was down like everything else, but as everything weakened on an intraday level, it didn't break down and it didn't go to new lows. So watch that very carefully coming out of the gates here on Monday. Other things, we talked about at the end of the week that we'll probably keep a close eye on as the week starts off. But the transportation complex, the IYT didn't look all that great. But on the interior, you look at a lot of the stocks inside there, like the truckers, like the JB Hunts, like the WERN, Werner's, the we even looked at some of the shippers. The Baltic Dry Index. That everybody's been talking about how bad of an economic indicator that is, but I think most people don't know that indicator's pretty well broken, and that shipping rates don't mean much when the majority of your shippers out there have locked in most of their freight rates into longer term contracts. But anyway, a lot of those shippers held their ground really, really well on Friday, when the market was breaking down. So watch some of those shippers. I'm watching Navios. I was watching General Maritime, like Diana Shipping. A lot of those stocks, they weren't off by much. They are off by pennies, while the rest of the market was getting crushed. Stocks were down 2, 3, 4, 5%. And those shippers were holding, they were hanging in there. So, those are a couple things I want to monitor, guys. But the way I approach this market is we got pounded pretty hard on Friday. So, if you're gonna buy anything, I'd be very careful. In fact, if you look at my list this week, I've got very few long ideas. I got a couple, but really, it's all about relative strength, right? My sell the rip list is a little bit more substantial. But I would rather wait. If prices start to come back a little bit from Friday's sell-off, they start to stabilize, maybe even trade up a little bit, then once you get them up, look for reference points on individual stocks that you've got kind of a bearish bias on, and look to sell rips. Look to fade those moves. That's kind of what I'm thinking here. So as always, I've got a list of stocks here that I think in terms of technical setups look pretty good heading into this week. So here's my buy the dips and sell the rips list. Take a look. As far as price patterns, guys, I'll show you what I have. We'll start with the bearish ideas. Normally, I don't like to pick tops, but this SanDisk is looking pretty good up here. It's right here at the neckline of a head and shoulders top. Friday's move put it onto a sell signal, so I'd be looking for a breakdown in something like this. The mining stocks, I'm uber bearish on these guys, just with the way the gold has been heavy and whatnot. Coeur d'Alene Mines, I could see this thing once it breaks down. I imagine it goes on to get crushed. Next reference point would be down at about 12, which isn't a bad move from where prices stand right here. Nile, I like the way this thing's been putting together this old descending triangle here for several months on end. Breakdown here, next reference point into weakness would be about 42.5. So, I'd look to cover there, let it rally back up again, and then short it at the underside of that. But the breakdown trade ought to be pretty good from here. Stocks like ADP from my bearish list, again, those that have reference points from where prices are at right now that have gone on to a sell signal, that still have a pretty good distance between where they are now and where they're going to. Big volume on the sell-offs, those kind of things are what I'm looking for. On the long side, again, I want to preface this with, hey, be careful. But, good strong stocks we followed on the way up, like Broadcoms, those that have sold off pretty sharply to their old highs, I want to just keep an eye on them and see if they stabilize here. Broadcom's one that stands out. A stock like Acme Packet would be another. F5, I know a lot of people are pretty jazzed about that one. I'm not as excited about F5, but it's that caliber of stock which is what I'm looking for here. Something that got crushed, but is at a reference point. I want to see if it can stabilize around those levels, maybe to set up a long. Something a little bit lower beta would be like a Dr. Pepper or Snapple, CAVM, or like a Skyworks. These are also stocks I've been following, and the reference points aren't too bad here from a long perspective. As far as technical breakouts, you've got this Valiant, which is breaking out of a little pennant or a little flag, whatever you want to call it here. Breaking out with some pretty decent volume on Friday. Doesn't look too bad. FTR, this thing could still break down, but I like what it's been doing here over the last couple of days, coiling up and winding up pretty tightly. So I think that thing makes a pretty big move, especially with all that volume that's been traded. So that's it, guys. I think, from where I sit right here so far, I'm starting to think it could be a choppy week, because if prices come out ripping tomorrow, everybody's going to think all is well, let's buy. But what I could see happening is my indicator staying on sell signals, which means that we should use good upside movements like that to sell into. And that McClellan's at a spot to where I don't think it really offers a great directional edge. Like I said, it's kind of at 50-50 right here. So my best advice to you is to just look out for the best of the best in terms of setups. Don't feel compelled to trade, but kick back and wait for the compelling trade. That's what I always like to say. So I'm going to go ahead and call it there, guys. Should be a fun week. Hopefully we'll see you guys over at Trading Addicts. If not, give us a try. Sign up, the 5-day trial. You guys know about that. Also, we got an open house coming up. So those of you that are not one of my Trading Addict comrades, come see us on the open house. For more information, go to optionaddict.net. This has been the Option Addict. That's been Weekly Watch List. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.